Fortnite's storyline is 6 years in the making, and in that time we followed a journey that ties every single event, season, and character together. While key moments come and go, there is one thing that has always remained constant. It has stood the test of time as wars have been fought above it, supervillains have tried to steal it, and it is destabilized way too often. From the first appearance in the Butterfly event to now being the key of Chapter 5, this is the entire Fortnite storyline explained. So many things have changed since our first video, but not where this story started. All of this began millions of years ago when there was a Big Bang. It formed every single universe in an instant, and at the center of it all was Reality Zero. It's here where the Big Bang left behind a huge mass of energy, and instead of spreading it out, the energy compressed itself into an orb we call the 0 point. This is tethered to every single reality in existence, connecting the entire Omniverse, and that's what makes it so incredibly powerful. As a result, it needed to protect itself from anyone who tried to wield this power, and this is where the island is created. On the surface, it appears as a powerful storm with a fake sky, appearing as a huge bubble in space and time. Anyone who tried to visit this island would either be wiped out by the storm's defenses or manipulated by the 0 point's strange effects, until one man came along. Against all of the odds, he captured control of the orb and began to wield its power. We know him as Geno. He's a scientist who is obsessed with perfection and also leader of a medieval kingdom known as the Oathbound. During his time ruling as a champion, Geno started to experiment with future technologies. We're not sure how he discovered the 0 point, but once it was located, he instantly realized its full potential. His long-term vision was to create the perfect society, and his time with the Oathbound was just phase 1 of his true destiny. With the orb, he knew that if he could see how every reality was made and what was different about each one, he could use that information to truly create perfection. So one day, he left behind his homeworld, but Geno wanted the kingdom to not lose their leader. In his place, he left behind a clone of himself known as a snapshot. There's still more research to be done into how snapshots truly work, but we do know they're created when someone leaves the loop. Originally, the loop worked very differently, but once Geno got his hands on it, he began to sculpt it for his own evil intentions. So along with the mysterious inner circle, Geno set out to create a new organization known as the Imagined Order. Their headquarters are built around the 0 point, with this location being codenamed the Bridge. With the newfound power, the IO were able to control the effects of the storm, alter people's memories, even unlock immortality. Now, to recruit people for the perfect society, the IO created the Loop. It's a program that forces people to fight each other, but to make it a fair battle, it removes your memory, ability to speak, and every 22 minutes, you fight all over again. It sounds like a great way to judge people, but no one would ever agree to this. So they started kidnapping subjects from countless realities. It was working perfectly. As more fighters proved themselves, Geno offered them immortality in return for joining the Imagined Order. Not only that, their whole family could live on the island and experience the same benefits. It's why we see towns and houses on the map. Not everyone is as lucky though. In fact, some IO guards don't even know they had a previous life. Their memories got wiped as they're forced to know only one thing: how to protect the Order. Thousands of years later, the organization had grown massively and mostly went under the radar until they kidnapped the wrong people. Those who were way too intelligent for the loop and managed to escape it without consequences. This unlikely group of vigilantes are from all corners of the universe, and despite being very different, they have one goal: destroying the Imagined Order and liberating the 0 point. We know them as the Seven. On March 20th, 2018, people living on the island look up to the sky. Something is approaching. They rush to grab a telescope, getting a closer look at the object shooting towards them. It's a meteor. Panic ensues as they try to predict where it'll hit, with some villagers thinking it's aliens or an extraterrestrial visitor, and if only they knew how right they were. In April, TVs around the island begin to show an emergency broadcast to prepare for the collision. As the meteor gets closer and closer, they brace for impact. A huge crater is left in the ground as the Imagined Order rushes to investigate. They build a facility at the crash site, disguising themselves as the government. Well, unfortunately for them, they weren't fast enough. A mysterious character breaks out of the meteor and escapes the facility, and this is our first introduction to the Visitor. He's on a mission to test the capabilities of their airtight suits, which we learn later on protects them from the effects of the loop. It's a success, as he steals a rocket from a film set and converts it to rift back home. This was supposed to be a harmless mission. Instead, it began the Fortnite storyline as we know it, a simple rift that would ultimately invite pure evil to the island and kickstart 6 years of bloodshed and war. So before the visitor's rift can close, a dark energy emerges. It's a cube? While this may look relatively harmless, it has the power to destroy the island in a single blow. It's bright purple flowing with corruption, which spreads to anyone who touches it. So this cube begins to roll around the island, leaving behind runes while searching for its target, the 0 point. Eventually, the search leads it to Loot Lake, where the cube begins to destabilize. The 0 point is barely able to defend itself, and within months, it's already facing a new threat. A huge shard of ice crashes into the island, bringing a harsh winter with it and a mysterious castle of unknown origin. It belongs to a power-hungry Ice King who we learn has plenty of prisoners. One of them is trapped in blocks of ice, and as the fragment crashes into the island, he's able to break free. With the chains gone, he's revealed to be the Fire King, a rival who is equally as powerful. Both of them want to take the island for themselves. As opposite elements, they can't survive the climate of this place. So, the Ice King covers the island in snow, cooling the temperature to his liking. His arch-nemesis responds, stealing dragon eggs from the dungeon and using them to create a small army of hybrids. It's enough for him to fight back and create a huge volcano that'll destroy Polar Peak. But before his plan comes to fruition, the Ice King defeats him in a war, with the prisoner frozen in the ocean for good. Well, fortunately for him, the volcano still erupts, sending fireballs hurling at the island's biggest cities, and of course, the castle. It breaches the iceberg, unleashing a monster that was secretly kept in the deepest dungeon. Yeah, it immediately breaks free, and the Imagined Order don't really care. They're perfectly fine with the monster damaging the island, as long as it doesn't touch the 0 point. The solution is to create a doomsday weapon that'll wipe out everyone on the surface, including the monster. Well, that's when a prisoner of their own speaks up. The Paradigm, a member of the Seven, explains that they can't just let everyone die, so she offers a better solution, to pilot a giant robot and kill the monster herself. They reluctantly move forward with the plan, constructing the mech in the hollowed-out volcano. It is time for the final showdown. And in the ultimate live event, Paradigm slays the monster with the sword. The rotting corpse is left on the island. She knows that if she sticks around, the IO will recapture her, so she begins her escape, flying directly upwards into space. Her new mission, investigate where the monster came from. When they learn about this, the Seven are furious. They think she betrayed them by working with the IO, and after her escape, it's radio silence. Pretty quick, they learn that a robot was crashed into a nearby planet called the Ice Moon. The temperature is simply way too cold for a human to survive, so she must have never made it. And that brings us back to the island, where the Imagined Order has bigger problems than their prisoner escaping. Before the monster was killed by Paradigm, it broke into the 0 point's vault. Grabbing the orb, she used it to stun the Devourer, but this left the 0 point exposed,